Howdy, Fuzzy here. Look at that, huh? LaSombra got a bath. It is the beginning of September 2021, and old LaSombra there is going to turn 60,000 miles today. And I'm going to tell you why this is the best average motorcycle on the planet. This bike does everything average really, really well. Toyota Corolla of motorcycles. So a little bit about her. Like I said, she's an 1100 cc, 67 cubic inch. V-twin with a 45-degree V, liquid cooled. Looks like an air-cooled motor, but there's radiator in the front there. 3 valves per cylinder, downdraft carburetors, 2 of them. She is carbureted. 36 millimeter carbs. Excellent torque. Wheelbase is about 65 inches. Mass of the bike is 600 pounds with a full tank of fuel and ready to roll. Brake is a disc brake, single on the front. I think it's a 312 millimeter disc. It's got a 2-pot Nissan with a floating caliper, so there's only pistons on this side, kind of like a car brake, and then a drum on the rear. The forks on the front are 41 millimeter with about 6 inches of travel. I think it's a little over 6 inches, and the rear has a twin shock setup with about 4 inches of travel, I believe, just something like 3.9. Gearbox is a very average 5-speed and works pretty well. Very I don't want to call it mechanical. It isn't a race transmission, that's for sure, but the motorcycle works great. It does everything, like I said, it does everything average really well. So, and I'll tell you more about that when we talk about the rest of this ride. We'll talk about the handling, the comfort, the maintenance, what it takes to own own a motorcycle like this, which is, by the way, that's one of its things. It's a very cheap motorcycle to own. How it rides in town, on the highway, etc. And I'll tell you about the modifications we've made, and I'll also, in the end, I'll give you an overview and tell you a little bit about what I wish for in another motorcycle. If I had if I could make my own motorcycle tomorrow, what would it be? I had to buy a new one. But anyway, let's keep on rolling. Wahoo! Life is good.
60,000 miles on the bridge between Nebraska and Iowa. Wahoo!
Hello from Rouleau, Nebraska. It's been quite a ride. We started in Cold Springs, started in Audubon, my home, went to Cold Springs, Cass County Park, and now we are in Rouleau, Nebraska. The Missouri River is over yonder. This is a highway bridge that goes into Missouri. The other side of the river is Missouri, and this is a railroad bridge. The town of Rouleau is over yonder. I don't know what Rouleau, how that name came about, but anyway, let's talk about maintenance on this hot rod. Let's start with the engine. Air cleaner is under the seat. I take that out and clean it a couple times a year, and I've been replacing it. I've replaced it twice now, as needed. Oil and oil filter about every 5,000. The book calls for every 8,000, so we do it about every 5, and that works out pretty good. So at the 5, 25, 30, 35, 40. But now we're at 60, so when I get home, I'll go ahead and change the oil in the oil filter. The spark plugs call for every 8,000 miles as well, so I change those every other oil change, about every 10,000 miles. So when I get home, I'm on a whole number, 60,000. I'm going to go ahead and change all 4 plugs. This is a 2-cylinder motorcycle, but it has 4 spark plugs. The coolant, it's a liquid cooled motorcycle. Here's the reservoir down here. There's a cover beneath this, and you pop all that off and you can change the coolant. I do that every year. It's pretty easy. It takes, I can't remember, 2.3 quarts or 2.4 quarts, something like that. A couple quarts. Easy to do. Other things of maintenance are gear oil, and that calls for every 25,000. I've changed it a couple times already. I've got enough oil at home to do another change. I just ordered another bottle. I use, I think it's called Redline, 80 weight. Bike calls for 80 weight. and I just ordered another bottle of that. So you know, it's easy to change, so I changed that probably a little more than it calls for, but that's all right. Other things, the brakes. I've never changed the brakes in this. Every time I pull the tire on the back, I look at them, and the back one is still fine. This bike has a great back brake. The front brakes on this bike are terrible. I checked the pads, they look fine. This winter we'll rebuild the whole brake system. I think I'm even going to change the line and the disc just to get everything. I've got rebuild kits for the caliper and for the master cylinder as well. So antifreeze, oil, filters, rear end oil, spark plugs, the brakes. You know, when I rebuild the brakes, we'll change all the fluid in there as well. What else is there to maintain on it? There are no grease points. I wish there were, but there aren't. I've never changed the fluid in the forks yet. I might do that this winter. I don't know. I've had a lot of motorcycles, and it seems like they always leak at some point. When they do, I rebuild them and change everything at that point. But this one hasn't done that yet, so thank goodness, huh? Bike's been running good. Bike's been running good. Let's talk about what I've added, or what came with the bike. When I bought it, there were some add-ons. First, this rack. It's a sissy bar and a rack, and that came with the bike. It's a Honda item, and I love it. Gives the passengers something to feel safe on. Gives me a place to put stuff like that nice bag. This came with the bike, this windshield. I've never had a windshield. This is a Memphis shade. It pops off and on easy enough. Take it off in 2 minutes, in a minute. And I've never had a motorcycle with a windshield before. I borrowed some with them and I liked them, but so I didn't know if I'd care for it. I took it off a couple times, put it right back on. I love it. Wouldn't be caught without it. And on long distance rides, that windshield makes all the difference, you know, especially if it's raining. So that's a real plus. A day like today, it takes a lot of the weight off of me. The other thing this bike came with was this wrist. I don't know what they're called, but it's a wrist rest. So when you're riding your bike, you can, you know, I don't have cruise control, so that's what we use. What I added, so that came with the motorcycle. What I added was this. So I'm driving down the road, I can set my gas, put this in, I can, you know, do something with my right hand for a minute or two, and that works really well. Other things I've added on the handlebars are, I didn't like where my mirrors were. I thought they were too far out and too low. So I bought a pair of these, put them on, and it moved them forward and up slightly. And I got another set and did the same thing, and it puts the mirrors more in my line of sight, which makes them much easier to use. Also brings them in. I still do not see my shoulders, so you know, they were great. I love them. Other things I added was this bag. That's been just a godsend. I can, you know, I've got all kinds of junk in there that you don't want to know about. A jacket, something to drink, an extra battery for my phone, things like that. So that's a big plus. And then I added these foot pegs, or mini running boards, or whatever you want to call them. One of my friends calls them rat traps, and it's an apt description because they do try to grip your shoes. If you have a tread heavy shoe, it'll kind of hold me. I have to pick them up literally. It's not dangerous, I don't think, but it's something you need to be aware of. Tires on the bike. That's kind of an interesting thing. I did a lot of research. When I got the bike, she had Dunlop 404s, which is a beautiful tire. That's what I run on my Harley. Actually, I run 401s on my Harley, which is about the same tire. I put the Michelin Commander 3 on the back. This is the second one I ran. The first one I ran, I got 26,000 miles out of it, and it was almost or right at the wear indicators. The tire felt safe. I never felt, you know, like I was running on a dangerous tire. But I think the next tire, this one, when I got this one about 7,000 miles ago, I'm going to run it to 20,000 and then change it. Now I also got one on the front, Michelin Commander 3. This tire has 29,000 miles on it. There's the wear indicator. We still got plenty of room for it. Doesn't have any handling issues. It works great when I'm riding. It does not look unsafe. Doesn't have any odd wear patterns. So I'm very happy with that, and we'll keep on running her. One of the biggest add-ons that I did that I really appreciate and like, a friend of mine added these sensors, and these sensors hooked to my smartphone. I got one on the front, one on the back, and they tell me the tire pressure on my bike. So every day I get up, I ride my motorcycle every day, and every day I walk out to my bike and I turn on my Bluetooth and I turn on that little thing, and it tells me what my tire pressure is on both tires, front and back. And that's just, it gives you peace of mind. That's something I've always, you know, for years I've walked up and give the tire a little kick, soft kick. But anyway, that's if you don't have tire pressure sensors on your bike, think about getting some. I think they're $80 or $100, something like that. These are Fobo brand, Fobo, F-O-B-O, and they work. I've had them 6 months, not 2 or 3 months. But well, what else have I done here? I think I got all the maintenance and the add-ons added on. Next stop, we are going to head over to Kansas now, and we will talk about ride and comfort and all those neat things like that. But anyway, look at this. Look at this spot. Railroad bridge, car bridge, Missouri River. Life is good. Wahoo! Enjoy. This time we are in Kansas. Just miles down the road from Rollo, where we were last time, maybe 20 miles, 15 miles, 10 miles. I tried to go to the Iowa Tribe White Cloud Casino. It was way too windy up there. I've got some pictures of the place, but the wind was just howling on the hilltop they were at. You'll see the soil over here, the stacked soil back here. There's more of it over yonder. That is lush soil. At least that's what it looks like to me. I was told by a geologist that there is none of that over in these parts. But my eyes tell me that there are, and I've also seen it in Nebraska, but I've been told that it only exists on the Iowa side. But anyway, let's talk about the bike. Let's talk about comfort, rideability, and things like that. Rideability, how does the bike perform? In the garage, you know, parking lot, when I'm on my tiptoes, which I'm never on my tiptoes. The seat's 28.5 inches tall, so it's you know, I got a 30-inch inseam. But it's a heavy bike, but I've grown so used to it that it's not heavy to me. But I do remember when I got it, that's one thing I did feel like it is a heavy motorcycle. I think anybody that were to hop on it and try to push it around would think the same thing. Hey, look, Bigfoot. I don't think it handles terribly once you get used to it. It just is. It does have a lot of mass. It's 600 pounds. Not bad though. You can see the ground pretty well on it. Driving around like in town, I think it drives around town great. It's not nimble or quick. You know, it doesn't handle like a sports bike, but you know, it has a 65-inch wheelbase. That's 10 inches more than a lot of bikes. And I think it does very, you know, it does well. It does good enough. I think it handles average. How's that? Average. You get around these kind of roads here, this 2-lane blacktop, and it's a dream. That bike is made for those kind of roads. It loves those kind of roads. It eats them up mile after mile after mile. It'll do you very well on that kind of road. Boy, this is a real racetrack. Here comes another car. It'll do you really well on that kind of road. I have had good fortune with it. You know, I've driven it hundreds of miles in a day on that kind of road, and I will tell you, it's comfortable, it's low stress, it's easy going. Beautiful bike to take on that kind of road. On the interstate, I went to Dubuque, Iowa a week ago Thursday, I think. I left at 4 or 5 in the morning, 250 miles each way, drove there, drove back that afternoon. Interstate almost the whole way, virtually the whole way, and 80, 85, did it just fine. I wouldn't want to do it, you know, I wouldn't want to drive from LA to Boston, you know, the old LA to Boston in 3 days. Wouldn't want to do that on this bike. I'd want to take 4 or 5 days at least, or more. This bike, it will do 75, 85 fine, but that's not where it's the most comfortable. If you have a lot of 75 and plus mile an hour driving, you might want to think about a different motorcycle. You know, if you're going to buy a bike to commute where you have a lot of high-speed driving like that, yeah, maybe a different bike. Here comes more cars. Comfort-wise, I'm very comfortable. The rider sits, you know, in a very good spot. good balance, so you don't feel you know, you're kind of right in the middle of where everything bends. So you know, the pivot point, the right there, and that's where you are too. So very comfortable. Comfort with two people. Let's talk about that. Traffic is bad today. Comfort with two people. I've had people on the back. I've had up to 200-pound people on the back, and on 100-mile, you know, 150-mile rides, and nobody has told me, boy, I don't want to get on the back of that thing again. I don't know. I've never been on it myself in the back, but they seem to be comfortable. You know, it does have a sissy bar, a nice padded one. Same with the seat, looks nice and comfortable. So I have a feeling it's good for that. And that's kind of a neat area. Like I said, we're in Kansas. Look at this horse. Keller Ranch, it says. Lush soil, that's what it looks like to me. I like riding this bike on long rides. I enjoy going hundreds and hundreds of miles a day on her. I don't have any issues with her ever doing that. She never complains. She just always goes. Never, you know, never a problem. Okay, next stop, I'll give you an overview of the whole motorcycle, and I'll tell you about what I wish the bike had, how I wish it was different. And if I were to buy another one, what would I look for? What would I do? Okay, let's keep on a rolling. Here comes another car. Hello from windy Missouri. Missouri River is over yonder. We are in the state of Missouri. We've been in Kansas, we've been in Nebraska, we've been in Iowa, and now we are in Missouri. Soon to be back in Iowa. I'm about 240 miles into a ride, and I've got about 125 miles to go before I get home from this spot. So the bike's been working great. She's got 60,100 miles on her now. Right there. So we're racking them up for the next run. What can I tell you about her except that I really enjoy this motorcycle. She's not the fastest, she's not the, you know, best handling, she's not the touriest, she's not the any of those things, but she does everything relatively well. She does everything, you know, in the middle. She does average great. She does, you know, 2-lane blacktops well. She'll do the interstate at 80 well. She'll do in town, you know, not nimble but decent. She'll do it well. She gets decent gas mileage. She's cheap to own and maintain. You know, you don't have to do any valve adjustments or anything like that. So she does that very well. Tires on her are standard. I've got these, you know, Michelin tires that get loads and loads of miles out of them, you know. So I don't have to, you know, I got 26,000 out of my last back tire, and I've got 29,000 on that front one. So that's, you know, tires are cheap for this kind of a motor. She does that well. She's easy to keep clean, easy to insure, easy to own. She has good storage. She does everything really well, and I'm very happy about it. What would I do to improve her? Well, I'd like a bigger gas tank. I've got 4.2. I wish I had 5.2 or 5.5. You know, I'd love to go a little farther. I was riding with a friend of mine. He had an Indian, and you know, I had to stop every 125 to get gas because we were out in the middle of, I think we were in Missouri, and you know, we didn't know the area, so you had to, you know, you have to get gas a little more frequently when you don't know the spot. I wish you had a better brake. You know, I would fix that, and this winter we're gonna rebuild the whole front brake system. I've got everything I need. I think I'm gonna change this, and I'm also gonna change the rotor though, so I got to get those yet. But you know, that's something that has to be fixed up. The blinker could be better on this motorcycle. The switch itself is what I'm talking about. It's kind of a clunky ordeal, but it works all right, and I keep it clean. If I had, you know, if it was up to me to wave a magic wand, that's something that would get fixed. I wish I got better mileage. I wish the bike went 110 instead of 100. You know, if I had that 10 more miles an hour at the top end, I'd feel just a little bit better. But you know, in 25,000 miles, I've just put 25,000 miles on it this year. I needed that extra speed for probably 5 minutes. so you know, I could just change my driving style a little bit, and that becomes a non-issue. That's more of a dream than a want. You know, that I want a better brake. I need a better brake. I'd like the blinkers fixed. I'd love a bigger gas tank. Speed, yeah, you know, that's just a nicety. I'd love to have that. But Okay, what would I do if I had to replace LaSombra? This is LaSombra tomorrow. What would I get? Well, I'd probably get another one of these because of the price. I ride 30,000 miles a year. Let's say I drove 25,000 miles a year. That means at 100,000 miles per motorcycle, you know, that'd be a new bike every 4 years. Let's say 3 to 4 years. And if you buy a $25,000 motorcycle, that's $8,000, you know, $7,000, $8,000 a year. It's a lot of money. You know, $700 a month, basically. You get a bike like this, it's, you know, $2,200, $2,300, $2,400, you know, over the course of 3 or 4 years. Very cheap. What would I get to replace it then? I don't know. I would like to have cruise control. I don't have cruise control. That's one of the shortcomings of this bike. So I'd love to have something like that. I've looked around used motorcycles in the $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 range. The best you can probably get is a Goldwing, $6,000 and $7,000. You'd have cruise control, all that stuff. The problem with the Goldwing is that they're very heavy. They're a couple 100 pounds heavier than this. They're longer, they're bigger. They're more expensive to own, not much more. The biggest thing about the expense on a Goldwing is they get a little bit worse gas mileage, which is, you know, 20, 25 bucks more per 1,000 miles maybe. But the tire, you have to put a new front tire on every 10,000 or so. At least that's what my friends with Goldwings tell me. They have to, you know, they can get 25,000 out of their back tires, but the front tires wear out quicker, I suppose, from the weight. I would like to keep something lighter. I do a lot of back roading, and I would also like to have something that I can take on more gravel. And you know, I can't tell you, I just recently drove a Himalayan. I also drove a Pan American. I also drove a Scrambler this year. And you know, if you had a motorcycle like that, there are a lot of roads that I would run into that I would take, where this bike I don't. This bike, the lowest point on this motorcycle is the crankcase. It literally hangs below the frame, and so you just really don't want to take a chance with it. So I'd like a bike that might be able to do things like that, a little more off-roady, but still good on the highway on the 2-lane blacktop. And I'd like it to be, you know, cost effective. I don't want to pay 30 grand for a bike, 20 grand for a bike. I'd like it to be in the 3 to 4 to 5,000 range. That really limits your options. You know, it becomes a used bike only thing, and there are some good ones out there. Things I would sacrifice for that price is I would get rid of cruise control, I suppose. I'd like more range no matter what, and I'd sure love better brakes, and better gas mileage would be nice. You know, there are a lot of good bikes out there. The other issue is valve adjustment. Just think about it. This bike doesn't have to have valve adjustments. If I had to do maintenance on this like I do a normal bike and do valve adjustments on top of that, that would just be that much more work. So, you know, what do you do, right? What's your kind of bike? What do you think would be a good bike for an all-around, you know, average motorcycle, all-around universal Japanese bike, all-around good at everything motorcycle? You know, what do you think would be a good bike for that? And keep price in mind when you think about that. When you ride a lot, price is important. I think it's a good looking motorcycle. I think it's a great handling bike. I think it's just been a joy. I know it's been a joy to own, and I truly appreciate it. And hey, I'm rambling. 60,000 miles. We'll see at 70. Will it make it? I don't know. Let's find out. Yahoo! Life is good. I'm gonna head home.